Hello, my friends. Welcome to Talk to Me Tuesday for Tuesday, September 16th, 2025. This is Jennifer. This is the perfect day to share with you guys. Jules has finished 2018 Talk to Me Tuesday quilt. This is from our swap that we did as on Talk to Me Tuesday as a group in 2018. All the video makers came together that year and we swapped quilt blocks. So all the ones that have color were swap blocks and the neutral ones I made for this quilt. By the time you guys are watching this, Jules already has this quilt. This project was so therapeutic for me. I was working on these blocks during some of the saddest, most stressful times that I've ever had as an adult. And it just being able to piece something for someone who means the world to me while all of that other stuff was going on was just so helpful. And this is the last project that I pieced on my Juki before retiring it for my new machine. I actually sewed the blocks together on the new machine, quilted it on my quilt machine. This is the first project I quilted on my Qnique in the sewing room. So a lot of things were happening around this project, and so that made it just a little bit extra special. When I offered to do this for Jules, she let me know that she wanted her quilt to be put together the same way my quilt was. So this mimics the design I did for my own quilt. I did not try to mimic placement for blocks. I just tried to mimic the overall look. So I have different fabrics in mine, but we have the same makers, and just it makes me very happy that we have twin quilts. Despite it being a beautiful day, my neighbors have contractors over and we're gonna have to go inside to finish. We've had a change of scenery because my neighbors are having new siding put on their house and it is very loud. This is the same quilt design that I used for my quilt way back in 2018, and interestingly enough, I pieced most of my, if not all of my neutral blocks when Jules and I were on retreat in Cloudcroft that year. We rented a cabin in the woods and we just sewed for days and days, and this is what I worked on. These quilts kind of have always been connected, and I love that we have twin quilts. Mine is over here, I can see it from here. A lot of the same fabrics and the same makers, the same video makers from back in 2018. We had quite a crew back then. Not as many participating now, but it's still a really tight-knit community. This was the first quilt that I quilted in this room, and I did the same thing on this quilt that I did on mine. So it has swirls top to bottom, side to side. Back when I quilted mine, I still had my Juki on my frame, so I did not have a stitch regulator, and this is quilted so much better. I mean, not only do I have a better setup, but I have many years of practice. So I love the way it came out. It's super fun, and I know when I wash it, because I'm gonna wash it before I send it to her, I know when I wash it, it is gonna scrunch right up. When Jules sent me the fabric and the blocks for this, there was also an extra block that she had made, an extra one of these colorful blocks. I think hers is over here. It's the one with the hot air balloons in it representing Albuquerque. So there was an extra block, and obviously I had to think of something to do with that. And when I was piecing my blocks, all the neutral blocks, I decided to make an extra block and then figure out something to do with those two together. And this is what I did. So this is her extra block here. This is her extra block. And then I cut mine diagonally, corner to corner, and I made those the corners. And I quilted this completely separately. So I did this first and then I did this after. And then I thought this would be a good opportunity to show you the quilt back up close. So this is the fabric I used for the back of this quilt, and also the back of the cushion. This is the grooviest fabric that I had. I actually bought this to make pajamas a couple of years ago, and then I did not. And when Jules sent me this quilt, I knew exactly what I was going to put on the back of it. So I thought it made a perfect, fun, super cute, little bit like of a 70s vibe, which I love, and just a perfect addition to go with this Talk to Me Tuesday swap quilt. The label on this quilt is one that I designed for the group back in 2018. Everyone's label was more or less the same, and then their name became the biggest name on the label. And so I would take and I would swap around the names so that whoever's quilt the label was for, their name was the biggest. And I made a few of them, and then I sent designs to other people who had embroidery machines so they could make their own. And Jules sent me the one I made for her back, and that's what I used to put on this quilt. And I will tell you, I can tell by looking at that label that I have learned so much about machine embroidery since then. It's still a perfectly fine, perfectly serviceable label, but I've definitely, my skill has definitely increased since 2018, which is not surprising since I got my first embroidery machine in 2016 and I got my upgrade last year. Hey guys, it's me from the present jumping in to tell you that Jules did receive her quilt and she really enjoyed it, and she was surprised by the cushion just as I hoped she would be. And I just wanted to share that she had it. It was received safely, and it just makes my heart feel really, really good that she has it now. While I'm here, because I recorded that last week, I wanted to share with you guys what I did in the last week. I took a little bit of a break to clean out some more bins and whatnot in my sewing area so I could make a big donation to Austin Creative Reuse. And while I was doing that, I was thinking about a project that I had sort of in the back of my mind. A friend of mine and I are going to try to start sewing together fairly regularly, and I wanted to revamp my travel kit for sewing. I've been using a big plastic box and it's bulky and not super convenient, so I decided I wanted to make a toolkit that would be easier to travel with. For a long time I was using sort of a bathroom bag that was a gift from Jeannie, and I did really like that. The only problem that I found is that it was one that you opened up and you hung up. So unless I had a place to hang it, it could be a little unwieldy. So that is going to be relegated to an actual travel bag. And while I was cleaning out all my stuff, I found my bag of pre-quilted pieces that were left over from making my sewing machine covers. So you guys may remember that last year I made sewing machine covers for all of my sewing machines, and then earlier, I want to say earlier this year, I made a machine cover for my embroidery machine. So all of them are this bubble up fabric quilted and then made into a sewing machine cover. So all of my machine covers match, which just pleases me. But anyway, so I had some bits and pieces left over from doing that, and they were from being quilted at different times, because some of them were left over from the first round, and some of the fabric was left over from the embroidery machine cover. But I had enough in there to make a bag. So here was my idea. I wanted a tool bag about the size of this IKEA bag. This is a great little bag for all kinds of things, but it's not really what I wanted for a toolkit. I wanted something that had pockets and that would stay open and that I could just sit beside me and have all my tools right there. So I took that idea and I took some measurements, and this is literally just me sketching out rectangles and measuring the sides of the little IKEA bag. And from there, I took my quilted fabric and I just started cutting. I cut the pieces so that they would work to the shape of the bag. I would have liked to have done one big piece, but I didn't have one big piece big enough. So I made two sides and a bottom, and I recreated the best I could the shape of this IKEA bag. So the outside of this is my quilted fabric, and I used scraps of that. These pockets are the sizes they are just because that's what I had. I put one big pocket on this side and put a seam, or put a stitch line here, so that you have pockets on both sides. And then on this side, I just had a strip of fabric. So I did a narrower pocket, and this has smaller sections. And then here on the end, I did like some pencil marking sort of supply section. I was totally winging this, guys. The inside was just a piece of fabric I had that was big enough, that was cheerful, and I thought kind of reflected my vibe. So I used this red polka dot and then this blue polka dot, made some pockets, same exact thing, except for on the inside, I had a scrap of soft and stable. Guys, this soft and stable was so old that it had turned like almost orange. So it was high time that it get used. So I used that on the inside, and that's why it's standing up so nicely, because even though this was quilted, it definitely wasn't sturdy enough to stand up on its own. After I put all this together, I actually put the lining inside and then I stitched it together. and then the pocket tops, and this is bias tape. I was using stuff I had on hand. I made this in a couple hours. I was not trying to complicate it. The webbing is left over from a set I bought a while back. I repaired a bunch of handles on some grocery bags. I like to make them longer because I have some mobility issues. I like to put my grocery bags over my shoulder instead of carrying them in my hands. It just helps me balance a lot better, and I don't want to fall. So I have a collection of webbing because of that. And so I use that, and I use the IKEA bag for inspiration. So I have the two handles, and I think that's pretty much it. I did do a little bit of boxing, like I pinched this together and made a seam there and there just to help the bottom hold its shape a little better. And then on the top, you can see here, I did the same thing up here where I just pinched the corners together and did like maybe a 3/4 inch stitch line, just so that it would hold its shape a little bit better. So that's it for me. That was a gift for my best friend and a gift for myself. So I will send you back to the past so we can say goodbye. I think that is going to be it for me, you guys. You guys have a really wonderful week. Have a crafty week, and I'll see you next week. Bye.